Last year, UK energy production fell to a historic low. More than 40% of our needs were met by imports. That is not security. It is certainly not strength. It is weakness by choice. And it does not have to be this way. Offshore Energies UK has found that up to 7.5 billion barrels could still be produced from our waters, 3.2 billion more than the government even admits. But here is the problem. Getting that oil and gas out of the ground requires business confidence. Confidence to invest, to build, to hire. And that confidence is being destroyed. I want to be clear about what is at stake if we don't make the most of the North Sea. Jobs. Almost 1,000 jobs are being lost every single month and will continue to be lost until 2030 without change. That is the same as losing a Grangemouth every fortnight. This isn't just a forecast, it is a warning. We have to ask, who is looking after our industry here? Oil and gas still meets 3/4 of the UK's energy needs, yet our oil fields are not being wound down over decades to come. They are at risk of vanishing in just a few years because of Labour's ideological approach. 200,000 jobs across the sector are in danger. Families, communities, entire towns could be wiped out by political short-sightedness, and everyone knows this. On the plane over here yesterday, I had people coming up to me asking me for help, saying our town is dying, our city is dying, our industry is in decline, please help. But jobs are not the only thing at stake. Energy costs are too. The Energy Profits Levy, the windfall tax as it is known, is actually leading to less tax revenue for the Treasury at a time when the Chancellor is trying to take every penny she can get her hands on. And that only means one thing: more tax rises landing on ordinary families. When the Energy Profits Levy was introduced, oil prices were near record highs. At the same time, bills were rocketing. That moment has long gone. There is no windfall left, and yet Labour is still taxing. But you may ask, why should we believe you when Conservatives introduced this levy? And the answer is that those of us who always opposed the levy are now in charge. And for those who didn't, when the facts change, they change their minds. Almost every other European country has dropped their levy, but Labour wants ours to run until 2030. And if that happens, there will not be an industry left to tax. For example, in May, the largest independent operator in the UK continental shelf, Harbour Energy, announced plans to cut its workforce by 25%, with 250 roles here in Aberdeen being placed at risk. And Harbour were clear that their decision was a direct result of the levy. OE UK has shown that the levy has cost 10,000 jobs since its inception. In the same period, the price of Brent crude has nearly halved. This windfall tax is a policy that punishes success and accelerates decline. But what else? What else is at stake if we lose North Sea oil and gas? Russia's war in Ukraine has reminded us that energy security is national security. Last year, Europe was still paying 22 billion euros for Russian fossil fuels. Russian gas made up 18% of EU imports. The EU spent 4.5 billion euros on Russian gas imports in the first half of 2025 alone. That is €1 billion more than they spent in the same period last year, despite sanctions. This is madness, and we need to wake up. More British oil and gas on the market would mean Europeans buying more from Aberdeen instead of buying from Moscow. So when we talk about the North Sea, about what is at stake, this is not some abstract policy debate. It is about our jobs, our energy, and the security of our country and our families. It is about whether we stand on our own 2 feet or weaken ourselves by choice. So what is the solution? I am proposing a new future for the North Sea, one that puts Britain back in control of our own energy destiny. The North Sea is not a wasteland, it is a cornerstone of Britain's future. That is why I am here. It is why Claire Coutinho, the Shadow Secretary for Energy, is here. She is the one who pushed for continued oil and gas licensing to maintain our energy security when Conservatives were in government. It's why Andrew Bowie, the Shadow Secretary of State for Scotland, is here. And it is why Scottish leader Russell Findlay has been leading the opposition to the SNP's policy of a presumption against new oil and gas exploration. We are all here because Conservatives are committed to our industry in the North Sea. And under new leadership, it is only the Conservative Party that is truly backing Britain's North Sea industry. And we are not here just to point out problems, we are in the business of finding solutions. So a future Conservative government will give the North Sea Authority one clear mission: maximise extraction. No more managing decline, no more treating the sector as a problem to be wound down. Currently, the net zero mandate of the North Sea Transition Authority requires operators to pass net zero tests before licenses are granted, which delays and potentially blocks projects. This creates a regulatory chilling effect with fewer firms willing to commit capital to UK waters. So we will scrap that net zero mandate. The mandate discourages investment in new oil and gas projects, adding time, costs, and adding uncertainty. This move will help domestic production and it will make the UK less reliant on more expensive, higher emission imports. And we will judge operators on one metric alone: how much oil and gas they produce. And what else will we do? The North Sea Transition Authority will be changed to the North Sea Authority, because the North Sea is about more than just transition. It is a strategic, economic, and geopolitical asset. It underpins the UK's energy security and Europe's too, and with the right leadership, it can help secure our future. Why is this the right way forward? Because the choice before us is simple: growth or decline. The ONS has said that output in other production industries has declined by 18.2%, primarily because of a fall in mining and quarrying output, as North Sea oil and gas continues its long-term decline. And this decline is feeding a higher deficit, lower growth, fewer jobs everywhere. Every extra barrel that we produce will underpin sterling and strengthen our balance of payments. But without stimulating investment now, the UK is going to be reliant on imports for more than 80% of oil and gas demand by 2030. That would leave us dangerously exposed to supply squeezes. And the irony is that the Treasury itself is losing out. We have passed the point on the Laffer curve where higher taxes bring in more money. The EPL will actually cost the Exchequer £12 billion in lost revenue. That is money that should be paying for schools, for hospitals, and national defence. But with the right policies in place, Britain can meet half of our domestic demand from UK production. That means more jobs, higher revenues, and greater security. That is how we create wealth for our country. This is why the economy must come first. Energy policy is not just about carbon targets or political slogans. It is about whether Britain grows or declines, whether we strengthen our economy or weaken it. There is no growth without energy, and under Conservative leadership, our economy will always be our #1 priority. But growth will not come without changes to the regulatory regime. Right now, the regulatory system is strangling the North Sea. We have more lawyers trying to stop oil and gas than we have rigs producing it. We need to overhaul the planning system for the North Sea, because let's be honest, it has become a paradise for activists and a graveyard for investment. Endless legal challenges funded by campaign groups are blocking the very oil and gas projects we need to keep our economy alive. Just look at Rosebank. I asked Keir Starmer at Prime Minister's Questions why his government pulled the lawyers defending Rosebank in court. He had no answer. He didn't know. Even now, Labour still refuse to commit to granting new licences at all. They are on the wrong side, standing with campaigning lawyers against British workers and British business. Rosebank and Jackdaw could have powered millions of homes, but Labour dropped the appeal and surrendered to the activists. That was a political choice, and it cost Britain dearly. This lawfare must end, and it will end with the next Conservative government. No more judicial overreach, overturning projects that have gone through rigorous approvals. No more jobs sacrificed because a judge is persuaded by a pressure group. A Conservative government will put the presumption back where it belongs in favour of new oil and gas projects because our workers, our businesses, and our economy deserve certainty, not sabotage. And we will go further. People want to know how serious we are. We are very serious. We will scrap the absurd net zero rig requirements. Rigs don't need to be net zero, they need to produce energy. That is what powers growth, that is what creates jobs, and that will strengthen the United Kingdom. Labour's approach means decline by design. Ours is growth by choice. Between 2016 and 2020, government support helped unlock £21 billion of UK oil and gas exports. That is what backing a sector looks like. That is what success looks like. Labour's ban is throwing that success away. We should be proud, and indeed I am proud, of the cutting-edge technology being developed right here in Aberdeen and around the UK. We should be championing this technology and these companies, flying the flag for the skills and expertise developed right here in Scotland. And if anyone doubts what a supportive government can achieve, just look at Norway. They are drilling in the very same basins that we are, and they are finding billions of barrels. Norway backs its industry, it invests in it, it champions it, and their economy reaps the rewards. Britain, by contrast, punishes its industry. We weigh it down with taxes, red tape, legal challenges. And the result is that jobs are lost, investment is frozen, and opportunities are squandered, and the clock is ticking. Unless we act, 180 out of 280 fields will shut down in the next 5 years. This is not a managed transition. This is collapse. Ed Miliband and Keir Starmer are not planning for decades ahead. They are killing this industry now. And if they succeed, they will not just destroy jobs in Aberdeen, but they will destroy our country's ability to stand on its own 2 feet. Labour sees the North Sea as a relic of the past. We don't. We see it as a cornerstone of Britain's future. By restoring common sense to energy policy, we will unlock billions in revenue. We will secure our supply, and we will rebuild that confidence in the UK economy. Under the Conservatives, British energy will again power British prosperity. And let us set the record straight. To those who claim we don't care about climate change, Britain has already decarbonised more than any major economy since 1990. We should be proud of that. I believe in stewardship of our natural environment and in protecting what we inherit for future generations. Nature is critical to our food, our water, our climate security. Our countrysides and coastlines are a core part of Britain's heritage. The Conservative Party is committed to this. But how is any of that served by importing oil from Norway or the Gulf rather than producing our own? It makes no sense environmentally, it makes no sense economically, it makes no sense strategically. We are not anti-renewables if they will cut people's bills, but all the evidence shows that the obsession with building more wind and solar before the grid can handle it, and offering more and more subsidies funded through more levies on bills, is going to drive bills up even more. Meanwhile, we now have the highest industrial energy prices in the developed world. This cannot go on. It is driving factories abroad, hollowing out communities, and pushing up prices across the entire economy. The foundation of economic growth is cheap, abundant energy. That must be our priority, and that is why it is time to overturn the absurd anti-prosperity, anti-business, anti-oil and gas, anti-British ban on supporting UK companies who export their world-leading technologies overseas. No more. This is a ban that has done nothing but see business destined for Britain go to overseas companies. I am here to tell you one party will fight for this industry and succeed: Conservatives. The SNP have taken a wrecking ball to the industry Reform want the state to get involved in our oil and gas fields, taking us back to the 1970s when government controlled British industries, running them into the ground. That is not the way. Meanwhile, the Labour government are strangling the North Sea in this dogmatic pursuit of net zero 2050, refusing new oil and gas licenses and refusing to support UK companies who export oil and gas technologies abroad. This is unilateral economic disarmament. Dressed up as virtue, it is time for us to put Britain first, to back our workers, to back our businesses, to back our North Sea. Conservatives will not be bullied by activists, we will not be tied down by Labour's decline, and we will not surrender Britain's future. We are going to get our oil and gas out of the North Sea for jobs, for growth, for the next generation. Thank you.